Your constant entertaining of worst-case scenarios is why you aren't miles ahead of where you currently are. Let me explain. Last weekend, I was on a sunset hike in Scottsdale, and we just reached the top of the first climb. We paused for a second, took in the views, had a few sips of water, and then turned to carry on with the hike. We probably made it about 10 feet when we heard a frantic voice behind us. It was like, "Hey, hey!" And I stopped, turned around, pointed my finger at my chest. "You talking to us?" "Yeah," the woman said, just completely out of breath. She goes, "It's almost sunset, and I saw a sign down there in the parking lot." And her breathing was so heavy she had to stop every few words. So the sign, it said, "At sunset, they close the gate, that every car still in the parking lot's gonna be locked inside the gate, won't be able to get out." Another pause to collect herself. "And I was just wondering, do you know if this is true? Will they really? Have you been here before? Is there any chance I'll be stuck here?" I said, "Well, I haven't been here at sunset, so I don't really know." I started kind of racking my brain thinking about some of my favorite hikes in the area, Gateway, Pinnacle Peak. Then Rose mentioned, "I'm pretty sure the gates do close, but they have a sensor that when you drive up to them, even at night, they open and you can easily get out." And I said, "Okay." So I just yelled back, "We're not totally sure, but we think the gates open for you. Even after sunset, even when it's dark, you should be fine." "I don't know," she yelled. "I just don't know. I have to leave. I'm out. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go." And just like it was in a movie, she turned around and just sprinted down the mountain. It had, the rabbit from Alice in Wonderland vibes. And we kind of chuckled and just, hey, you never know what you're going to come across around here, do you? Turned back around, carried on with our hike. Now, important to note, I'm not knocking or making fun of that woman. Let me tell you why. That's been me. More times in my life than I can count. Blowing minor inconveniences way out of proportion. Terrified that something might go wrong. And it's derailed progress and growth, change and excitement, all because the path wasn't certain. I've said no to trips and projects and opportunities. I've ignored the thing I knew my soul was pulling me towards. I've walked away from adventures. You name it. Because what if, somewhere along the way, a metaphorical gate closed? Oh, the irony of refusing to move because someday you might be stuck. And then you turn that into a full thought experiment, right? Let's say this person was correct. You go down after dark and the gate's locked and you're stuck. You have to call law enforcement to open it up. Inconvenient, absolutely. For everyone involved, admittedly, not ideal. But why is our instinct to act like we'd starve to death at Tom's Thumb trailhead? Our brains flash this image of ourselves writing a goodbye letter to everyone we know, with a scroll and a quill pen for some reason. I'm not sure why. "Dear loved ones, they closed the gate. Tell Michael he can have my signature John Mayer guitar." Right? When you play it out, it's lunacy. It's insane. The worst case scenarios we create are complete nonsense, almost always. Because look, it's one thing to be reckless and careless. It's another to live your entire life in bubble wrap because you may trip and fall somewhere along the way. Now, obviously, this is way bigger than that story I just shared. Right? This is about the trap of leaving so much of life on the table because we placate to the downside. We constantly entertain all the things that can go wrong, forgetting that 1, almost everything is solvable, and 2, mostly 2, the question, what if everything works out? Hey, what if things go right? Why is that possibility so often left out of the equation? What if you leave that toxic relationship? And sure, perhaps after a brief period of chaos and stagnation, things get better than they've ever been. What if you start the business? And yeah, maybe rocky at first, but after that, it completely changes your life. It causes you to level up as a person while also putting you in position to add value to the world you could never have in your old life. What if you decide to level up your fitness? And you bet the first month or two at the gym, you feel like a fish out of water. But ultimately, you transform mentally and physically in ways that leave you just feeling different, more confident in every room you walk into. Why don't we think about the upside in scenarios like that? You know, when we turned around and finished that hike, it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever experienced. The orange and purple sky, the path through the rocks that felt like something out of a Lord of the Rings movie, the view from the top during blue hour, when the sky is still painted all those colors, but it's dark enough that the lights from the houses way down in the valley look almost animated, like a cartoon or something. Closest comparison we came up with was the aesthetic from the movie Polar Express, right? Almost doesn't look real. And I just think, like, imagine missing that because of something as trivial as a parking inconvenience. In the grand scheme of things, what's more meaningful? What's more important? What matters? Big picture. Guys, we are missing life's sunsets because we are worried about the shadows they cast. Life is meant to be lived. And I get, by the way, how messy things can feel and sometimes are. But the simplest of experiences remind us our brains, they want safety, not growth. They want comfort, not adventure. They want to know at the expense of ever diving into the unknown. Remember that the most important, valuable, memorable, beautiful things you will do in your life are tied to some sort of risk or trade-off. And look, I'm not telling you what's right or wrong for you. How could I? But what I can do from this room in Scottsdale, Arizona, is remind you that most, if not the vast majority of things that don't go the way you want them to, are reversible, solvable. Think really hard about the sunsets you say no to because of life's metaphorical gates. Oftentimes, that decision equates to giving up an entire world of possibility because you bowed down to a single minor inconvenience. That's not you, and it's not why you're here. Don't chase the made-up ghost stories. Chase your sunsets. Oh, and just for the record, after the most beautiful hike of our lives, we drove up to the gate, it automatically opened for us, and we drove home. But you already knew that.